Wasn't this supposed to start in the morning?
Shut up! Just do the intro!
Oh, okay. Welcome to ChattyCoffeeCrew. Here's your host, Shyzabox.
Oh, yeah! Whoa! Whoa! Yeah! Whoa! Get out of here. And the horse you rode in on! Ladies and gentlemen, get out of here, apprentice! We're trying to do a show! Stop blocking the view of us. That's why everyone's here. Where are they? They're here somewhere, in spirit. But, lo and behold, we're getting set up. Get back in here, apprentice. Entertain the masses. You know, when you start doing stuff as long as we have, sometimes it, takes a sec to get going. Apprentice, we're ready. Get out of here. Jeez. You know, today we have a very special show in order, you might be saying. Prove it. Well, we're not going to. Because by special, we mean free. So, you get what you pay for. And believe you me, no one paid for this. But, and we see all the ones of comment rolling in. We'll get there. We know you want to get your word in edgewise. But believe you me, ours is a little more important. Because if there's a lot of dead space in the video, it reflects and looks bad on us. And we look bad enough on us already. So we'll get there. But we're kind of doing a two-parter on this one because we know we aren't going to devote the time needed for it today. And believe you me, no one's going to want us to anyway. But what we can do is break up the topic because it is going to be one of those topics that's ever arguable, ever changing, ever evolving, ever, bringing new things to light, new ideas, new fresh takes. Old fresh takes made new based on new fresh takes that are made old. Doesn't matter. However you look at it, you might be saying, we don't look at it anyway. That's fair enough. But, turns out, Dani last night said do an episode about it, and no one else said anything else in the chat, mainly because she was the only one there. But, looks like you get an episode about aliens now, so everyone who didn't participate, which we don't blame you, there's better stuff on. It's your fault that the episode's about aliens. And lo and behold, it's going to be a two-parter. We're getting way too late started on this one. You'd be like, why'd you even start in general? Well, that's a good question. It's because we have to honor our obligations to all ones of our fan. Hi, Mom. And then when someone accidentally misclicks and ends up here as well, we pretty much do what we's told. Now, we're going to get to those ones of comment that came in. Entertain yourselves, but don't add any more comments, because it's going to take us a sec. Hello. Hey. No, keep Apprentice in. Apprentice, get back here! You get more popular than me one more time, you're fucking fired! Thank you for your contribution to the chat box. Alright, so what are we doing today? Rick! We're glad you're here, Rick! Not only because you left your piece of cake back here from the other day. Name's still on it, Rick. You better clear this shit out. It's starting to mold. Even though it was already a green cake to begin with. We went through that, Rick. But we're glad you're here because we believe we saw ones of comments come in on one of the videos on the channel prior to starting this endeavor. But we're in it to win it at that point, Rick. So, we couldn't really do anything. For everyone who doesn't know, Rick's our door guy. Okay? You might be saying, what's the point of having a door guy? Well, when you're constantly doing things around here, like bringing down the house with all this not great content, it's pretty much like a hurricane comes through and doors fucking fall out of nowhere and you need Rick the door guy to prop that shit up. So, Rick, we saw your comment and surely, while we don't do songs ourselves, we do know who does them on the channel. It's Rock. We're Shyzabox, but we will tell Rock to definitely make a song about you because we know they'd be extremely happy to do so. But we digress. Today we are doing a talk of aliens because one person voted on it and no one said anything to the contrary. So, but we can talk about whatever, really. We'll sell out in a heartbeat. They're not here right now, at least we don't think. We haven't got that far in the chat. But one thing we did do is get far enough in the, discourse last night to realize that someone said do an episode on aliens. So lo and behold, that's where we are. Aliens can be looked at a variety of ways, but we need to paint it and look at it in a light that many a channel would say they present as entertainment, okay? We know there's nothing entertaining about this, okay? There's no arguing it, all right? We understand where we stand. We're the filler content that you check out when the good streamers aren't available, okay? And that's, whenever. Sometimes we mess up, and we're getting there. Studio's under construction. Sometimes we mess up and accidentally do our stream when better streamers are doing stuff. So, if that's the case, Dipset, send us the link so we can shut it down and watch that as well. But, if we're up and going, we kind of do our thing. So, when you get to our age, you're just lucky to be at that point. It's like, oh shit, we got up, might as well work. And by work, of course, we mean do this. So whatever. So today we're talking aliens, we're talking all that. We're talking Rick has questions. Well, Rick, it wasn't you, don't worry about it. Not a big deal, but we do need you to fix that door, it keeps falling on us. Or whatever. Hey, Josh, you're here, you made it. Well, we know you said hey earlier, and that was you when we were calling it out, but we don't read the whole thing, Josh. That's the thing. We ever tell you Rick forgot to fix the door once, fell on us, and, became a little hard to focus at that point. But we've gotten better as time progressed, and Rick finally fixed the damn thing, but we keep breaking them around here. It's what we do. Kind of like what aliens do when they try and sabotage and inhibit us getting started. Now, we need to touch base, because we are running a little late today. Hold on. Hey, management, call the studio. We got a communicator pin. Good deal, clearance system. It's old tech. Next generation era. Hold on, there it is. Hey, this counts even though we were a little late today. So, time served. Uh-huh. All right, well, good. Docket. Excellent. It's like you got to check in with POs whenever they want you to. Needless to say, work is argumentable. But it doesn't matter, we're talking aliens. And alien tech can be crazy. The belief in extraterrestrial life is connected to the idea that Earth and life on Earth are not special or unique in the universe. This idea has come about because of the teachings of secular Darwinian evolution, which assert that life evolved without any specific cause or purpose. In the line of evolutionary thinking, life on other planets is highly probable since humans on Earth are not special and do not hold a privileged place in the universe. Another reason for believing in aliens is the human mentioned for mystery and the intriguing possibility of life beyond Earth, which fuels. Yeah, well, that's a mouthful, Rick. And while that's a mouthful, we see that now we have to, chime in on it and either agree or disagree. But see, the thing about it is that we haven't made our disclaimer first and foremost. So, whilst anything stated is the opinion of anyone who stated it and not necessarily our own, and we may hold views or opinions that agree or disagree with it, let's, before we get into the conversation, because we wasted enough time, hopefully enough to garner free views. We wasted enough time getting around it, but we need to preface everything, because like we said, Rick, this is going to be a giant conversation and a topic, and maybe instead of just a two-parter, it's going to be an infinite parter, okay? It has the potential to be so, but we need to preface everything with a complete disclaimer for legal purposes, right? So, whilst any talk of ideas of things that are unsubstantiated and unverified and unverifiable and, fact-checkable, everything like that, inherently there lies a spectrum and form of entertainment that is affiliated and associated with it, okay? Now, bear with us. We realize our place is not entertaining, okay? So, zero aspect of it. But what we did do is waste money on a college education. And with that, We bought the privilege to be able to say that we got a degree in history, and here's where we're gonna do our take. We minored in philosophy, okay? You might be saying, what, like Plato, Aristotle, Friedrich Nietzsche? Yes, yes, and yes. But no. We went above and beyond those ones to the ones that we were forced to study, right? A lot of philosophers out there. But see, we're getting a little different, and we have to preface this before we begin this entire series. It's not going to be for entertainment purposes. There's going to be little to no entertainment out of it, minus what you garner to be entertainment within what your confines of that are or exist, or you feel that they are or need to be. So, what we are going to present is our take on a modern philosophy, Shyzalosophy, okay? You might be saying that's just some made-up shit. Well, sure, it's made-up shit, but you know what? Philosophy is made-up shit, okay? You might be saying people have their reasoning that they do that sways opinions on people who study their works or follow their beliefs or become enchanted with their takes or, maybe perspectives on different ideas and views and opinions, okay? Philosophy is a bunch of opinionated crap. So, as a modern philosophy, we can interpret and have an opinion on any aspect of anything that some might deduce and derive entertainment from for entertainment purposes, but it's not for entertainment purposes. It's for a philosophical discussion purposes. As a philosophy minor, that's credentials. They're shitty ones, but same way we're a shitty internet celebrity. Everything else you watch is guaranteed to be better than this. But we preface everything with this is Shyzalosophy. This is takes on touchy hot button topics and issues that have no way or form of ever totally appealing or appeasing the final argument on any take or perspective. Everything is so unsubstantiated and so open-ended that there is not one way you could focus on any aspect of it, have someone argue against your point, and ever come to a point of agreement if you are at ends to begin with. You might eventually find some middle ground. Excellent. Sure. One could hope, wish, and dream. But as far as Shyzalosophy, it's a philosophical take on it. So it's not inherently going to be grounded in truths. It's going to be grounded in pop culture beliefs. It's going to be grounded in available data. It's going to be grounded in word of mouth, teachings that have been handed down that aren't necessarily true. Maybe there's a lot of, conjecture as far as stories and things of that nature. So, that being the case, while there might be some factual things interwoven in between and, that rear their heads, a lot of it, even source material, will be pointed at as a blanketed direction of where you can go to seek more on this topic, should you be interested and want to seek more of the historical components and aspect of it, which inherently exist. Now, that preface out of the way, let us take a sip and check the ones of chat that we missed. And, hey, have management call us again. Popular culture and entertainment. Well, Rick, at the end of all that other stuff you said, we're thinking that was a great ending. Saw a UFO a few times, but never an alien. Well, Josh, a lot of people have claimed to see UFOs and claimed to see aliens. And some people have, maybe some people haven't. Interesting, that we'll have to dive into a component of UFOs and their affiliation with it. Aliens is a broad topic. Where do you start? Where do you begin? Where do you start to, dissect it? It's a multi-parter. There's no way around it. There's a lot to it. Let's see what we got. Alien refers to forms from other planets and realms outside Earth. UFOs, term UFO, alien lore, symbolizing unidentified aerial phenomena. Excellent, Rick. Linked to extraterrestrial theories. Well, exactly. So, let's get a little pointed in our topic. Dani would want us to. Now, we realize that Dani's not going to be part of the entire discussion, but, they laid it out as, pretty much hiring themselves as the fact checker, who isn't here to fact check, ironically, at the time. Whatever. Sounds about right. I mean, hell, we were late too. Can't really blame Dani. But let's get a little pointed at where to begin. So, yes, we can dissect the terminology alien, we can dissect the terminology extraterrestrial, and we can dissect and start at all different points, points of history, points in a timeline, or plots on a cartography map of where stuff has originated from, taken place, and stuff like that. So let's do a blanketed Shyzalosophy starting point, okay? The Shyzalosophy starting point is that all of history has been completely misrepresented and needs to be fixed as far as the accurate recorded timeline because of facilities and cities that have become recently made public knowledge of these giant cultures that existed in the past that are not accurately recorded on the timeline or plotted in any way, shape, or form, i.e. Göbekli Tepe. For Göbekli Tepe to be stated as being older than Stonehenge by, we want to say, a couple thousand years at least now. No fact checker here to think. We're not a Joe of the Rogan show, a Tim of the Pool. We don't have our fact checkers, but we're going to premise the entire discussion on aliens, extraterrestrials, ancient aliens, maybe fleeing ancient ancestors that happened upon, manipulated, and terraformed Earth into the desirable outcome of a livable planet, such as what is fathomed to become with the regards to things like Mars and our ability to potentially get there and start terraforming it and creating a colony and an infrastructure with which to harbor and maintain a longevity for humanity and life in general as it constantly expands and grows and goes where it wants to do and go, okay? You can argue stuff from a religious perspective, from a science perspective, from a historical perspective, from an archaeological perspective, from a recorded historical perspective, from a word-of-mouth perspective, from a out of the realm of fiction into science fiction perspective, and that's the thing, and that's why we're going to address aliens in general over surely a multi-part series, because not only are we, yes, long-winded, but we are not long-winded enough to keep up with and talk about and, touch every single aspect of it, because it is so monumental in scope that you cannot blanketedly do, this is the first episode, so, we'll see what context or, even aspects we get to with the interladen disclaimers and, prefaces that lead to the discussion in general to even begin or happen. There are so many elements that are unverifiable, like we said, and that just rely inherently on conjecture and assumptions, that it makes people at ends with each other in an unverifiable manner, so no one ever talks about the root discussion or the root any aspect of it when they get to the point where they're like, it's aliens, it's a religious aspect, we can't come to an agreement because we have such differing views in aspects of religion or science or history that there's no common ground that can be reached where it just ends with each other in everything that we want. So, great rest of your stream. Thanks a lot, Rick. We'll catch up. Fix that door next time. We almost got a concussion once. If you're wondering, I'm leaving early. It's because... Hey, fantastic. You hit up that game, Rick. These will be here interladen. We don't even have a schedule yet. The studio's under construction. Don't apologize for leaving. Live your life, Rick. That's what Shyzalosophy is. The discussion's always there. Our lives always aren't. And we need to utilize the times that we have with our friends, family, loved ones, relatives, and those lowly times where you're sitting by yourself in your mom's basement enjoying a cup of Joe. And you're thinking to yourself, no, not Joey, sick. Blah. If it's from Joey, it's a no-y. That's the rules. You live your life, Rick, and you come back and check in when it's convenient for you. And, you know, you can even leave this playing on a computer or device, hit mute, and haul ass. Go hang out with your friends. We get the view. You live your life and have fun. YouTube's none the wiser. We'll get their money. Shh, just kidding, YouTube. Not really, though. And that's just how it works. You have a great day. We'll continue talking about Alien, and it's an open-ended discussion. We can revisit any points of it, reintroduce aspects we've talked about, again, reiterate them, repaint them in a new light or take. Maybe someone else will have a new light or take on it that paints it a new take for us. You have a great day. We will continue. After we take that sip, which we did now. So, you can address aliens and the talk of it from a variety of perspectives. Now, we just so happen with Shyzalosophy to have taken the philosophy of religion, the philosophy of science and technology, the philosophy of history. You know, we've taken all of these elements of it when we acquired a minor, okay, in philosophy. So with Shyzalosophy, it's pretty much, you know, just open-ended crap with the basis and reasoning behind, yes, even the core parts of it that no one enjoys, logic, reasoning, and argumentation. That class sucks. No one likes it, okay? But you have to suffer through it and do good enough and hope your professor doesn't really, you know, grade. And when you do, finally walk across that stage and get that minor in philosophy that inherently you're going to try and make something out of, even over the degree you got, because you went to college. Super. Great choice. But, you know, there are points of it that, you know, college is very necessary. That's a whole nother show. Today's Aliens, and it's because, you know, Dani wanted it to be. So, there you go. We'll talk about that other stuff some other time. Just remind us of it. There are points of college that are very reasonable and necessary. Doctors, lawyers, specialists in specialized stuff. Otherwise, tech school that shit. That's the way to go. We can't all be celebrities. That's why we know he called dibs on being the best of the worst. Everything else that you watch should be inherently better, and we call dibs on the ground floor level. So, dibs. Daryl Dixon said we could. So, the components and the aspects of aliens and the talk of alien and ancient peoples and extraterrestrials and ancient technologies, ancient cities, all right? You can approach from a variety of perspectives and ways. With that being the case, when you approach it from a certain way, say you approach it from the philosophy of religion, when you talk about aliens, okay? If you encounter a non-open-minded or willing to discuss headstrong religious entity, could be from any denomination or religious affiliation, if you encounter someone so headstrong in their perspectives and takes, hello and hi, Kyle. If you encounter someone that's so headstrong, you're never going to reach a commonality or be able to even have a discussion about things as, you know, open and out there as aliens or, you know, the ancient civilizations, things of that nature. So we can start the discussion in a variety of ways. We preface it by Shyzalosophy, okay? It's open-ended, it's non-confirmable. It's not necessarily rooted in factual evidence or historical evidence. It's rooted in conjecture and word-of-mouth stories and things and elements like that that tie into it. So, where to begin? Where to talk about aliens, right? Dani didn't really tell us last night in the stream, and no one said don't. So, aliens is the episode today. Someone else can be like, do the episode for tomorrow. But it's probably going to be a two-parter tonight if we're back on tonight. We don't know. Studio's under construction. Now, it's probably going to be a couple two-parters on aliens. You don't like any of them, mute it, go to work, mute it, go to bed. We get the view. You don't have to watch it. It's a win-win, mainly for us, okay? Hopefully you have unlimited internet. That's your problem, not ours. We just need to be concerned about our view hours, right? Because we want YouTube's money, okay? We're not asking you for yours. Don't get me wrong. Hell, we'll take it, but it's kind of a pain to give it to us. You have to go to Cash App and the whole new tab and stuff like that. It's a pain in the ass. You gotta spell that shit right, too, okay? But that's beside the point. Eventually, YouTube should just give it to us as long as, you give us the view. And by give us the view, you really don't have to view it, okay? We don't want you to watch it necessarily. We just want you to leave it playing in the background. When you go to bed or go to work, mute, leave the house. Should be good to go. Be sure it's on a power surge. Don't want a fire hazard, okay? We get that. But, maybe, put it on a wireless device. Maybe it's okay. Those get hot. No way. Okay, fair enough. Well, put it on your neighbor's front porch. I don't know. Should be using their Wi-Fi anyway, right? Everyone knows that. Anyhow, don't worry about it. Hey, Bob, we're joking. We don't use your Wi-Fi. Anyhow, let's talk aliens. We can approach it from many ways. So let's start with, where everyone would want us to not. Let's talk about the religion and the religious aspect of ancient alien technology and things of that nature, okay? So you can say, depending on the denomination, that there are the sky gods. You can look from a historical religious perspective of folks that worship deities according to Greek and Roman, gods and goddesses that are taught to students currently in Western culture that we know of that pertain to everything around that area and region of the Mediterranean Sea and world where, the stem of a lot of recorded history for modern folks comes from and is, laid out to be. Now, there's, of course, recorded history all over. There's verbal histories all over, obviously, okay? The topic of aliens, alien technology, ancient civilizations, so broad, so expansive, where to start? That's why we preface everything with history is incorrect. It is taught incorrectly, it is laid out incorrectly, and we have a degree in history, okay? It is completely wrong, okay? The timeline is incorrect, and there are a lot of individuals that have been historians, archaeologists, philosophers even, okay, that their entire life's work is uprooted by the mere mention of things like Göbekli Tepe that might single-handedly, with minor excavation, negate and prove incorrect all components of decades of research and study and basing things off of the known recorded history, okay, saying that Stonehenge is the oldest thing. It's not. Okay? Göbekli Tepe, and you look into that one, ridiculous. City in Turkey. A lot of controversy around it. There are channels out there that cover it far better than we ever would. That's why we let them do it. We'll point you in the direction. Channels like Bright Insight. Okay? Such a great take, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. Such a great take on aspects and components of it. Brought such great light to inform the viewers and the masses that were unaware of it, of components and aspects of it, up to and including present day, with excavation controversies pertaining to aspects of the local and state government in the region and area of Turkey and little organizations, groups, and entities that for some reason get to call the shots over humankind's historical past, components of it are painted in such a better light on things like Bright Insight that we can talk about it here, but it's a component of it. It's an aspect of it. It's a philosophical take on something that is unsubstantiated, unverified. Okay, now we know Göbekli Tepe exists. It's unexcavated. It's not deemed to be fully excavated or even attempted to be re-excavated for like 150 years, maybe 149 now, maybe 148. Okay? There are entities that don't want information about humankind's past to come to light. That's obvious, because history is a lie. As a historian, we feel very comfortable stating that as a fact. Now, we can't prove it. Everyone has to make their own assumptions and ideas and opinions on it. But as someone who has studied history, who, holy shit, of all the classes we did not do good in school, there's one that we did okay. History, right? We ended up majoring in it after realizing that we were tricked into going to try and become a business management major for 2.5 years and shelling out thousands and thousands of dollars, with which only to realize we suck at microeconomics. At that point, 2.5 years in of study at something we weren't ready to pick that we wanted to study, but felt forced and pressured into by outside entities in the educational apparatus, we wasted time, money, and effort on inherently what was a waste. Okay? Now, we learned components of business, sure. We studied something inherently that is valuable to components of business, sure. But we paid to do that. We sacrificed our time, our effort, and our finances, and worked 3 jobs at different points in time to get through college in order to study a bunch of shit that was irrelevant. And then the thing that we did major in, history, the only thing that we were good at growing up, we're regurgitating lies our entire life. So, preface it with, the historical timeline of humanity is incorrect. Okay? We can't substantiate it with facts. We can't go back in time and say, no, this, that, the other, okay? We're not doing the carbon dating. We're not doing the reporting. Other entities and apparatuses do it better, okay? That stuff is there. You can find it. It's inherently going to be where other points and aspects of this very universal discussion can take place. So, aliens, galactic, enjoying. Ryan, entertainment. Well, you know, we like to think that we are a wise person, and by think, yes, we know. It's because we shelled out thousands of dollars to get a degree in something that has 0 return, right? Makes us very wise, Ryan, because we got screwed over by the system, and so now we get to philosophically via Shyzalosophy, which has the disclaimer of being open-ended discussion and not inherently rooted in factual things or necessarily anything you should take or apply to your life. That's on you. You make your own decisions. If you accidentally misclicked on this and don't delete your cache afterwards and viewing, that's on you. When the feds come and question you like, hey, we see you were watching Shyzabox's stream. We got some questions for you. You better clam up and not mention any component of it, because that's going to be, you know, kind of in the way, right? So, needless to say, alien discussion, alien technology, alien culture, alien talk, alien everything, it's open-ended. There are people in aspects and components of the discussions and the areas of discussion that are so wide apart and so at ends. Okay, we said we'd start with religion. Religion area and stuff like that. But Unfortunately, right now, we're going to have to kick it and go. We hate to cut it short. Now's your chance to get out of here before us. We will continue this discussion later. Sorry to kick it and cut it now, but we got other stuff to attend to. We got a late start. That's on us. If we're able to revisit very soon, we'll revisit the, thing and hit the coffee. But it's a multi-parter. Sorry for the late and the abrupt stop, but we got shit we got to do now. Life, right? But you have yourself a great day. Get out of here. We'll continue later. Feel free to check out other, stuff that you don't want to watch on the channel later. Hell, we still need the views, so go to one of the longer videos we have. Hit mute. Go about your day. Leave and go enjoy the outside world. Until then, we'll catch you next time. But you are beginning to leave footprints on our grass, so get off our lawn.